record. Alright, and recording. So, go here. Alright, so today's conversation, I've got Moon Knight and MiX with me.
Hello, guys.
Hey.
And we're going to talk about MiX's favorite character. I don't even know if that's true. I just assume it's your favorite character.
It's true. It's true. Yeah.
Which is Rook. And to start off, I'm going to read off the UA, and then we'll go through the kit for this monster. So, he has 6 ammo tokens, and he has a limited ante to use one of them. As a before effect, if an ammo is not antied, the attack does not hit. And his 6 tokens are: he's got a long shot that gives -1 or to +1 range, a swift shell which gives +2 priority, an impact shell that does on hit push 2, a flash shell which is ignore stun guard or just ignore guard now, AP shell which is ignore soak or ignore armor now, and then explosive shell which is just +2 power. Alright, MiX, why should people play this character, this monster?
Well, you have to look at his styles, right?
Yeah, I mean, I have seen some of them.
And you look at his UA and you go like, okay, this is like Hikaru, right? You have power, priority, water token.
Well, actually,
so what's the difference?
Like Mikhail, actually. Right? Because that can't hit like you have to ante.
Yeah, but it's 6 tokens. That's a lot more. Of course, you don't know how to regain them yet. But the big difference, of course, you look at his styles and you go, how does sniper hit? How does crossfire hit? What are these ranges?
Yes.
What is +3 minimum range? That's Rukyuk. I mean, more than his UA, he's a ranger. I mean, he is the ranger,
right?
He is the most range character of all time. He is the best character at range. That does not have starter beat advances because if you look at his kit, he has no answers to starter beat advances. Just look at his minimum ranges.
Yes.
But other than that, he has excellent ranges, so he can just hit you from full board every single beat.
Yeah, he can hit you at not range 1 from usually whenever he wants.
Pretty much. Range 3 plus.
Yeah, 3
even 4 maybe. Because he has a lot of mid range, right? So even at range 2 and 3, you're limited.
All right, so if we're gonna explain Rook, what style do we actually start with? Do we start with sniper? Do we start with point blank?
We start with reload.
We start with reload. I love it. Let's go.
Because you see his UA and you go like, okay, you have a bunch of tokens, right? You need to spend a token.
Yeah, so let me read reload real fast. Reload is his unique base. It has NA for range, NA for power, 4 prio, 0 guard, after effect, teleport to any space, and end effect, regain all ammo. This unique base actually sucks.
This is fine when you anti-priority, but it's a dodge. Of course, it doesn't have dodge attacks, which makes it pretty unsafe. But as we talked about, he's a ranger, and he needs to get into range. And so if you just get the reload off, you can just move anywhere, which usually is just the farthest away corner.
Right.
If you look at reload is the only way to regain ammo, which means he always has a downbeat, where he has to spend a turn and just move and gain ammo and most likely lead some damage.
Yep.
Which means the rest of the beats, you better be using these tokens. You better be using these styles and tokens together to make better attacks than reload, right?
Yeah.
How often do you both reload? Like, when do you reload? I guess is a great question. Like, I assume you don't reload with like 3 tokens left, but 2 tokens, 1 token, like.
Depends. Reloading is incredibly crucial. Like, no one meant to reload, so incredibly crucial. You want to say something, Louis?
Oh, my dog is barking.
So reload is also a great clash into style. So for example, you clashed out twice and your options are kind of limited, then you might as well reload as well to get the free reposition. But yeah, normally if you like clash 2 or 3 times, you're hopefully in like gunner mode, which is gunner or point blank. I would say are the 2 options you have if you clash, because they are +0.
Yep.
Because if you clash at sniper ranges, then you're probably
fine.
I mean, your opponent would have to be at +2 priority at least, which is kind of awkward. Not a lot of styles has +2 prior printed. So yeah, sniper. If you clash at sniper ranges, then you might as well just whatever, strike or grasp or not drive.
Not drive.
Well, sometimes
I use sniper drive. Well, we'll talk about that when we talk about sniper. But
yeah, I mean, it's a possibility, but it's not usually what you want to do if you want to hit with sniper. But then again, we're probably going to talk about sniper later, where you don't have to hit to make good use of this card. But we'll get back to it.
Yeah,
so yeah, you can also use. You can also use reload as a.
Right,
as an ender to
reload. I've seen MiX. I've seen your sniper reloads in BCO haunt my dreams. Like this is dodge number 2. I swear to Christ.
Let me just finish my thought on reload on clashing. You can use it at the end of clashing because usually the opponent won't have many options, right? So you can just dodge them. Sometimes they don't have a shot because they clash the shot, or they don't have a drive because they clash the drive. Or sometimes you have already lost the strike. There's nothing you can do, so you might as well reload because the end effect still happens.
Yep.
There's no problem with that. Now we're all talking about sniper because sniper is the reason why Rukyuk is ranger. So sniper has.
Oh yeah, let me read this. Sorry.
3 to 5.
Yeah. 3
power
1.
5.
Okay, yeah. Go ahead and read it.
Okay. Power 1. Priority +2. Right. So this is with like a grasp or a strike. This is 46 range. So if the opponent's far away, you can just hit them. Like there's no problem, right? And after, move 1 to 3 spaces.
Yeah.
And it's an after effect. It's not a hit effect. It's not nothing, right? With this much priority and this after effect, you can do what they were saying, which is sniper reload. 6 priority, have to move anywhere.
Yeah.
That's just fast enough to dodge things sometimes. That's really good because you usually run far away since the opponent is not expecting you to just like advance 6 when you're cornered or something. And you set up in 5, which is amazing. And you get all tokens and you can just kill them.
Yeah, what I was doing, I guess, because I played with him yesterday, and sniper drive actually came up because what I wanted was to keep my max range, right, and advance 1 and then retreat 1.
Yeah, it also has that tiny downside of if you're already at the corner, and you will usually be at the corner because reload puts you at the corner. Then sniper will actually move you forward, which is bad because you want range. In this situation, sniper drive is good. However, sniper drive has a problem, which is sniper has a lot of minimum range. And like there's a very good card that just says no to every min range card, and that's dodge. And even if I range 6, the opponent can just dodge to range 3, which makes snipers miss. This is what makes sniper less good. Like you would think it would be essentially unbeatable because you can just move anywhere. Especially if you pair with Vive, you can literally move anywhere as long as you go faster. But it does have a really, really big blind spot. Yeah, this is why Rukyuk has long shot. And long shot is like the bullet you have to consider when looking at all of these ranges. And you have to think about, well, you can also anti-long shot and introduce it the minimum range. The minimum range is definitely the most important part of long shot, by the way. because you really have a problem with hitting people in melee.
Yeah, I have definitely
Sniper is just
dodged
the
a
primary
Rook
example.
less by moving past him and more by just moving to range 1 or 2.
Yeah. So
because
long
that is
shot.
essentially dodging.
Yeah, long shot is used to get Trick into like an additional melee attack. So Trick Strike with long shot is good. But we'll get to all of those once we have talked about the styles, right?
All right, so we're already talking about sniper, so let's just, I guess, we'll start with sniper, right? Because we've already been talking about it.
Yeah.
Man, we were talking yesterday. I'm like, this card is impossible to use until it's the best card in your kit.
Yeah, something like that, right?
It can be hard to use, right? Because you need the setup already, and then they can just dodge, and like you can see like they get dodges as often as you get reload, right? I mean that's how Battlecon works. And so it's very likely that you set up sniper exactly every beat that they have dodge up, and then they just dodge you and you're sad because you dealt no damage and you lost all position. They in the center now.
Yeah, but I remember a game where I'm like, oh, that's what's going to happen, and instead you point blank shot at me, and now it's like, uh-oh.
Yeah, of course he has mix-ups.
I mean,
Point
that's kind of it.
Point blank is the mix-up, essentially.
Yeah. Or Trick, like Trick Impact. It does the same thing, basically. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Trick Impact, when you want the max damage. So we need to talk about more styles. What style should we talk about next? Because
I feel like
the big range style, but for it to exist, you need the other styles.
Yeah, so do we go down like Sniper, Crossfire, Gunner, Trick, Point Blank?
We can, but before... Oh, let's mix this up. I'll actually... This is the style I want to talk about for Rook.
I really don't think we should talk about Switch now. Not before Point Blank.
Okay, so we'll keep
I think that is a pretty new mistake.
So Gunner and Crossfire aren't quite the same, but they have the same ranges. So I want to talk about those in a minute. So let's talk about Trick, because this is the one that I kind of almost feel is like the hardest style to use correctly in his kit.
They all are. I mean, that's the thing about Rukyuk. He has hard styles to use because he has to hit them, and his ranges are really awkward. But yeah, Trick is a Trick because it has -3 priority, 10 immunity, and minimum range. Now, this is not a very good combination, okay? Because
so let me read this out real fast. It's +1 to 2 range, +0 power, -3 priority. For guard, he's stun immune, and at end range 1 optional, retreat 1.
I mean, the text doesn't matter.
Hey, stun immune is in the text box.
It lets you go to range 2 from range 1, but it has minimum range of 1.
Yeah.
And it's slow as hell. It's not very relevant without long shot. With long shot, it becomes extremely relevant.
Yeah, but I feel like that's true for all of your styles except for Point Blank.
Except for Point Blank, okay?
I mean, the reason you have the end of beat retreat 1 thing on Trick is so that you can, if your opponent has something that moves them in end of beat, you're usually slower with Trick since it's -3 prior. So your opponent moves in and then you retreat 1, so you at least have 1 space to do something, and it can be relevant, but usually Trick is just stun immunity, which is relevant for a lot of things that Rook does.
Is this?
I guess
that bottom text on a dodge, like when you have to dodge past them, and then how often is that relevant?
Yeah, it's relevant for dodging as well. Yes, it's somewhat relevant. The thing is, you're a ranger. You don't excel in range 2 either, right? Sniper doesn't hit, and Trick is down. And Trick is actually the card you want to play in range 2. So you have and Point Blank already works in range 1.
Yeah, it's still better than the options to stand at range 1 usually.
It is optional retreat, so yeah, might as well.
Yeah,
it should probably retreat. Anyway, I was saying this style is pretty hard to use. Because the opponent will just go first, and then use some movement effects like drive, just duck in the range. It's when you use like long shot or burst or you know, I mean, it with explosive ammo, with explosive shot, you can just win. Sorry,
You know, this isn't the way I actually also think about Trick is if you are using it. Oh, someone's mic is scratching. But if you are using it as a for your reload beat, like it makes sure that you get your after effect with the stun immunity, which I think is super relevant.
yeah, there is
like you'll go after them and then move away from them.
Quick reload. It's basically accepting that you're not going to dodge them, unlike sniper reload. But you always get the reposition, and you get the reposition after they attack.
Right.
So like, you know, they can be like in center space, and you're in the corner, and they drive you, and then you just run to the other corner. You know, their drive is down.
Yeah.
So they probably have to dodge because now I have sniper, and sniper just
the benefit of not sniper reloading is that when you trick reload, you have sniper up next turn, and they definitely win before you, and you are definitely on the other side of the board.
Exactly. Of course, the problem is you wait like a bunch of damage. So yeah, just make sure the opponent is dealing like 2 or 3 damage, so you can deal 4 or 5 on the next week. Yeah, that's pretty much how reload works, honestly. Take a few damage, you can deal way more. Speaking of way more, I think we should talk about Crossfire next, because it's pretty much a mix-up.
With
go ahead and read the style.
With you said it's a mix-up with what? Gunner?
Sniper.
Oh, sniper. All right, so yeah, Crossfire is plus 2 to 3 range, plus 1 power, minus 2 priority, plus 1 guard. Armor 2, hit optional, spend 1 ammo for plus 2 power.
This is a slow mix-up for sniper. It has less range, but you can just spare with shot, which makes it have 2 to 7. That's kind of ridiculous. So yeah, it kind of has a downside of pretty much having to be paired with shot to hit that long range. But if you don't forget about that, you just look at it has -1 minimum range, which means it beats some dodges. And with long shot, it beats more. And you look at it has the hit effect, which means it deals 2 more damage. And 2 more damage is really relevant.
Right.
Yeah, on top of this one. On top of the sniper, you also just do more damage. You also don't need to worry about the sniper moving closer. And you also don't need to worry about whatever the opponent does. It has 2 armor.
Yeah. That's when I think of Crossfire, what I really think of is that this will is the card in your kit that will outtrade. If they were expecting something else and you outtrade them with Crossfire, they're suddenly way behind. You know, armor 2 on top of plus 3 power if you anti an ammo or use an ammo on hit.
This is clockwork.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly.
It doesn't look like it, but this is clockwork. This is clockwork with an awkward range. And it's
I guess that's a way better way to put that.
As clockwork when it hits.
But when of course it's when you hit with this, it is definitely very similar to Clockwork.
Yeah, of course it is much harder to hit. Right? I mean, because it's just Clockwork shot, and you can Crossfire shot, but of course it has 3 minimum range. You know, and that's a recurring theme with Rukyuk, right? You have cards, but they have minimum range. But Crossfire can just be like after the 3 reload, something like that. You get range 5, and you just Crossfire shot, long shot. And it beats dodges because it can only go to range 2, and it deals like 6 damage.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just 6 damage, right? Essentially for free. If they can't do anything about it, it's for free.
I think that if Trick is the most awkward card to try to use effectively in this kit, Crossfire is the one that is the most high risk or high reward for me.
It can have no risk. The point of Rukyuk, the way I play him is setting up for Crossfire. Because Sniper is easy to dodge. But Crossfire is not. And that -1 minimum range makes all the difference. That and the +2 power.
Yeah.
So yeah. Now the only issue, like the only thing is, since it's not super fast, the opponent can just hit you back. You know, if the opponent has a range kit, they can just trade. But
I mean, you're trading into armor
they're not.
too. Is
They're,
that
they're
really
not.
trading?
They're not trading out. Yeah, they're not trading out because they could stun you. Like there's a threat of stunning, depending on their attack. But it's pretty hard, and they're probably not gonna do it. And if they just stay at range, they just eat the sniper or something else, right? You have a bunch of range options.
How often
To
do you
the, to
anti stun
the,
guard with this
it's still
actually?
moving forward.
Like that seems. I guess that would depend on the matchup, but like you don't need to beat 6 very often. I would imagine.
Yeah. I'd say that the difference between Crossfire and Sniper is also that you know, Crossfire can hit if your opponent is at mid board. Like he stands at the position of Crossfire now.
Oh yeah, right in the middle.
Yeah, right in the middle. Meanwhile, Sniper can't, and it might seem, you know, whatever, but that is a big thing since some opponents has I wouldn't say more.
More. You cut out of me.
Yeah, you cut out.
Rip. Come back to me, Moon Knight. Well, I do think it's interesting that you mentioned that Crossfire is the mix-up with Sniper when the card that I always think it is most similar to is Gunner.
They have similar printed ranges. But Gunner is definitely much more like bread and butter. You play Gunner pretty much every rotation. Because we're just talking about the mid-range styles and the payouts, right? Like Sniper is the payout.
Right.
Crossfire is the payout as well.
Sniper is the payout. But like, I think what would you say your best or your like most workhorse style is? Because I think that would
The best style is point blank. The one I play the most is Gunner. Right? And then it's like, why are we talking about the other 3 styles? Well, the other 3 styles are Rukyuk. Sniper is Rukyuk. Sniper makes you dodge range attacks while attacking at range. And gives you building range, right? This is the style that makes sure that you always have a range 6 option. No one can outrange. Crossfire is the payout style. You deal 6 damage. And you can pre-dodge. And you outtrade everything. Cool. And Pick is the other awkward, hard to use style. Because it's slow, it has minimum range, doesn't even have plus power. You know, you're pretty much using it for the stun immunity, which can be awkward.
All right.
Now,
So
the other 2 styles.
Let me read Gunner real fast. So it's +2 to 4 on the range, and 0 power, 0 prio, 0 guard. Before optional, spend an ammo for -1 to +1 range, and after retreat 1 to 2. I think we might have gotten
So
back. Maybe.
he's trying to connect, but
Trying. All right.
he the beeps. Yeah, Gunner. 2 to 4 range, no stats, and then some text, but the text is really relevant. So before optional, spend 1 ammo for a long shot.
Yes.
Essentially.
So we talked about your best ammo.
That,
is like, how about any of your ammo become your best ammo?
Yeah, of course you still empty ammo, so this can become a 0 to 6 range.
Yes.
Style. But more often than not, this is going to be a 1 to 5 range, which means it hit anywhere, then it's range 2+. And in fact, Gunner is usually the reason why Trick retreating 1 is so good, because it turns on Gunner. This means you have 2 styles that hit instead of 1.
Yep.
Gunner is also like the option you want when your opponent attempts to dodge in. If your opponent uses dodge, you can like Gunner or whatever and just push them back again. And retreats afterwards. It's a sweet card. It was even better before. It had +1 power and +1 prio, but
that was a long time ago.
I was
was a
like,
long
man,
time ago.
that wasn't even. I don't think that was even version 3. That was like version 2, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe it was
Yeah.
version 1. Anyway,
Yeah, that was old.
was
My
old.
priority gunner would be ridiculous.
It was
It really
good.
likes having Swift Shell. Like
Yeah.
plus prio with that range and that after effect. Yeah, give me. And yeah, this can be the mix up with Classify and Sniper at long range. If they can move closer, since it has -1 minimum range.
Yeah. So the thing about gunner is the gunner is like what makes your ammunition shine. So the other thing we talked about, like sniper, crossfire, trick, they have like a built-in way to use them, right? Sniper is, oh, I'm at long range. I can use my long range shot if I really have to, but it's not necessary. Crossfire is like the defensive option where you just want to trade, and trick is like the stun immune. We trade because I can't figure out something to do this round. Gunner is like all of his ammunition is suddenly alive and like enhances what you want to do. So gunner +2 power makes it probably a good trading style. Gunner +2 priority is like you want to outspeed your opponent and you can push them back with something like grasp or something. And long shot, like we talked about, gives you +0 to 6 range option, which is like, according to me, this is like the worst anti of it because you don't really.
It's kind of useless when you have point blank already. And and if you see the styles, like you really want long shot on everything because you really need more styles that can hit, and reducing your minimum range is incredibly important.
Yeah, exactly. So using that on a style that is already like giving you that to be in a comfortable range, it's kind of a waste. So I don't usually play long shot when I use gunner. There's always like a reason to do it, I guess, but normally not.
I think that's pretty bold, right? To use long shot on gunner, that just seems like you're sacrificing tomorrow for today.
Yeah, I mean,
you can always just reload next speed.
Yeah, sure, I guess.
Right. No, and this is also a good time to talk about spending ammo. Gunner has it, Crossfire has it, and it's like, yeah, you don't want to reload a lot, right? Because every reload is a beat that you might just get dumpstered because you can't hit the opponent.
Well, before we talk about ammo, I want to finish up the styles because I have questions about point blank and some of the ammo.
Okay.
So let's go to a point blank because this style is.
This style makes more sense with bullets.
So point blank
it gets much better with bullets.
0 to 1 range +0 power +0 prio +2 guard, which is super relevant. Damage optional push 1 to 2.
That's his only style with no minimum range, by the way. Fitting of point blank, of course. Yeah. And you look at this and you go, well, this barely has any stats, right? Only 1 range, which is whatever. It literally can be bursted, which is not relevant against anything else, by the way.
Point blank burst anti long shots to get the sweet 1.
Yes. I mean that's the Hiku maneuver. That's the focus burst maneuver. It's quite the same, isn't it? You still have guard too.
Yeah. I mean.
Yeah. Speaking of bursts, Rukyuk loves bursting. In case you didn't notice that.
I mean,
does he? Like, I think he wants to burst by itself, and like maybe we'll talk about it with Switch, but like
he does not have
problems, and we're gonna make those way worse.
Yeah. Burst has minimum range, which he hates. He also doesn't have good burst cards, burst styles. He has trick, which is okay, right? But this isn't even upgrade. It just makes it dodgeable. But anyway, of course, he loves playing burst and hating burst because that's really high value.
I mean, Rook is also really happy if your opponent plays burst because.
Well, yeah.
Yay.
Yeah, sometimes.
I was
Sometimes.
trying to think. I'm like, what character would not put down burst in their discards against Rook? I'm like, I don't think there's any character who would be willing to be like, you know what I'm going to do? Let's burst.
Not beat one. Because, as I said, burst is only relevant against point blank. And point blank is best at range 1. So.
Maybe Alexian. That's about it.
Alexian maybe, but nah.
Alexian lol.
Alexian
I don't
has.
think it matters, right? Because, like, maybe he just gets crossfired.
Demetrius maybe.
Okay, Demetrius is also good at pile like 40.
I mean, the thing about Demetrius is that he outspeeds you no matter what.
Right.
So
yeah, just because burst is like 6 spiral. So sometimes he just outspeeds whatever.
So I played Rook yesterday, and we were in one corner, and I point blank grasped using the push bullet impact shell and sent my opponent all the way to the other side of the board. And I gotta tell you, that felt pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Point blank with impact shell is very funny.
Yeah. And that's when you want to burst, right? If your opponent had played a burst, then he'd be fine.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's why burst against Rukyuk. It's exactly in that situation when the opponent when Rukyuk just wants to play a strike, a grasp, usually with impact shell, to just set up.
Yeah.
Anyway, this style looks okay, but it is amazing. Basically, everything else beats burst, and so the weakness to burst is not that relevant. Your character by itself kind of beats burst, and then you have like it's a setup style. Damage optional push 1 or 2 is amazing. The priority is fine because he has bullets, and so you can just give it priority, power. You know, ignore guard, ignore armor. Like
what I think is the most wild about this style is a lot of the characters that I usually enjoy tend to be melee characters. So staying close to Rook is like the whole game, like the entire what the entire game is about. And like if I guess wrong, like on a sniper, and I get point blanked instead, that usually means I'm eating the next 2 attacks, right? While I try to come back in.
Yeah, you can always the funny mix up. He has a lot of range options, right? I mean that's on a character. Sometimes instead of like sniper, you can just point blank, bombing shot, because you need the range, and they move in, and you hit them, and you push them, and now their dodge is down.
Yeah, and now your sniper's still up. So it's like
and your sniper's still up, crossfire. Yeah, you can just snipe into crossfire. That's like 10 damage guaranteed.
Yeah,
very easily 10 damage here. Of course, it depends on the opponent's options.
And from 0, right? If you get that mix up wrong and you go across the board as a melee character when your big movements are down, then you didn't just lose this beat. You lost the next 2 beats too.
Yeah. Until dodge is up, no, there's nothing you can do.
And then once dodge is up, we're in the same.
Rukyuk can just hit you forever, right? Of course, then he has to reload, but it doesn't matter. He already got so much value that the damage you deal to reload doesn't matter anymore. And he's just winning by a lot. Right? And then you can do this again. That's the point of point blank. Set up for the other styles.
Yeah. So the thing about Rook, like we talked about, is he's like running all around, like all over the place and shooting. And the thing is, you want to hit one of these where you just push back and get 2 free beats, because you have to reload like once or twice every game.
Right. So you're not actually like you're just shifting around that, right? If you get 2 free beats or you hit them, you're paying for that by having 2 reload beats at some point.
Yeah, exactly. So you want to get that. That said, reload is like Rukyuk is all about like reloading for free. So there will come times where your opponent's like, "Oh, I have to dash in" and stuff like that, and you only have like 1 or 2 ammunition left. It might actually be worth taking a downbeat and just say, "Okay, I'm gonna reload, and next beat I'm gonna do something else," right?
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah, especially if the opponent is dodging with like chrono dodge is the best example because you can't hit it.
Yeah.
You just can't hit it. Like it just moves anyway. And so you just give up on hitting, reload, like especially with sniper. Just because move anywhere it's too fast, and then you have all bullets back.
So I wouldn't ordinarily talk about Switch with most characters. I think like when we think about Switch, the two characters who probably like Switch the most are Magdalene and Demetros. But I would imagine that someone like Rook, maybe Welsie, some other like dedicated rangers also have to be a big fan of having like just a zero style.
Yeah.
I'm not going to read Switch. If you are listening to this and you don't know what Switch does, I don't know why you're listening to this.
It's 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0.
Yeah. All the zeros.
The important zero is the range, of course.
Yes.
Because everything else other than point blank has minimum range. I just want to stress this fact one more time. Okay, it has a lot of minimum range.
Oh yeah.
And Switch does not. And so you go, okay, sure, but that's not good enough to make Switch a good style, right? And then look at bullets, and bullets can just be used on Switch. And
you do have to use a bullet.
Basically elements. They're basically Heiku elements, so they just make a style good, right? Usually you pair this with Drive for that, magical range.
But you can also use Strike, right? Like they want to get in on you so much that like you can just switch Strike and be like, bring it.
Yeah. I mean, switch Strike explosive shell. Like, I don't care. I'm trading.
Right? Like, are you gonna come in? You want to move 2 right here next to me? I'll tax you for 6, please.
Mm-hmm. The only problem with Switch is it's pretty much just worse than point blank in every situation.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So you either have point blank down, which is very common, because you want point blank in every single turn.
Yes.
Yeah.
If you're not winning every turn, you want point blank because they probably have range 1.
Yeah.
So having a second point blank is really helpful. And
so the only base you want to put Switch on is reload. Because usually point blanks plus 2 stun guard doesn't help you from getting stunned out. So it's better to get the extra force.
Oh, never pair point blank with reload, honestly.
No, I wouldn't.
That has to be.
In terms of reload pairs, Crossfire, Trick, and Sniper are the best ones. Crossfire has 2 armor. Yeah, I think that is self-explanatory. Trick has this immunity, and Sniper is just fast.
Yeah, Sniper is faster than anything. Ooh, sorry.
Yeah, especially if you went the priority bullet. That's a very common pair. Sniper reload, shift shell. 8 priority. That's basically dash.
It's good.
It is. It's dash.
It's dash. Yeah, dash is 9 speed, I think. But it's dash. It move anywhere. Yeah, that's really good. Sometimes it dodges a bunch.
All right, so
sometimes it's just unbeatable, and you get the shift shot back, so there's actually no cost.
So we talked a lot about Longshot already, right? Longshot. I think once you have an idea of his kit, you understand why Longshot is so important. So let's set Longshot aside and talk about these other 5, starting with the most edge case one, which is AP shell. So AP shell is just what is ignore armor, ignore sword.
Yeah, ignore armor.
Yeah. AP shell is like good in a rare amount of of combat, like where
it's explosive shell, but worse. Pretty much every matchup
against heavies is explosive shell, but worse. Yeah, I mean we could take the example.
People that have 2 armor,
yeah, but we can talk about it like we did. You said Alexian. It just counters stealed right off, right?
Yep.
Oh, it ignores your armor, and you have armor 5.
I forgot how steel works now, but yeah.
Yeah, it's still +1 armor for each space between. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So
it's just completely flushes stealed. I don't think there's any other style like that though.
I mean, you still have. It's still better against like Clockwork, where it's power +3. right?
Right, so I think this has a lot of use in heavy matches, but that's actually this is the one that I think of when I think of like you spending for Crossfire and Gunner. It's always AP
Yeah.
Shell, right? AP Shell is the one you don't care about.
Yeah. In
Usually,
most
yeah.
matchups, AP shots is worse because you want AP out of everything else. Yeah. So like you look at the usually what happens is at least how I do it is I look at the bullet and I look at explosive shell and I go like maybe I don't need this. And then I immediately throw away ignore armor because if I might not need +2 power, then ignore armor is at best +2 power in almost every matchup. So you just dump it. And of course there's always the matchups where it is literally useless.
Yeah, right.
And so you just dump it. For Gunner, Crossfire.
So that leaves these other four, which I think are all good. But let's actually start with the weird one, right? So the reason I wanted to talk about point blank before we talked about ammo is exactly because of Impact Shell. So
Yeah.
first of all, the key note here: this is push 2, push exactly 2. So you cannot
Yeah.
push them only one. That does come up.
It comes up a lot.
Yes.
Especially like especially like Gunner grasp from standing positions.
Mm-hmm.
It does not actually help. It does not actually help, and that can be awkward sometimes.
Gunner Grasp Gunner Grasp is exactly the one I was thinking of.
Yeah, okay, it's a pretty canonical pair each one honestly.
Yep.
Gunner grasp anything, any empty is good, except long shot. But yeah, and except impact shell because it doesn't actually help. Because you push them one and then you can't push two, or you push two and then you have to pull one, or you
So
But other than that, impact
do
shell
you use
is
this? The Impact Shell. Impact Shell feels like that. Not quite the same extent as AP Shell, right? Because when this is good, it's very good, right? When it's good, you're winning next beat too. Is how I usually think about this.
Impact shell is a setup essentially.
Right.
It can be good with
worthless.
Crossfire. It can be good, but it's usually good with Trick, Gunner, and Pumpkin. And the point, I mean, it's all the same, right? You want the opponent in the corner, you play this and the opponent's in the corner. Free set. As long as you guarantee, as long as you hit, you're fine. And I usually empty this when there's nothing else I want. I don't want to send the opponent, I don't want priority, and I want power. And that's actually a pretty important distinction. When you need important question: do I empty impact shell or power? Because they're both hit effects, right?
Yeah.
I get power. It's essentially, do I get power now? Do I get power later? It really depends on the next beat if they can just dodge. It's usually better to get power now. And that's something you have to think about it as Rukyuk. Like, what's the next beat going to look like? Can I get value from the push at the next beat? Or is it just helping me and it's nice?
In the game I played yesterday, I did a switch drive anti-push bullet and took the corner from him and pushed him too. And when he had a strikeout, and I was like, well, this feels like the most optimal payout of the switch I've ever received in my life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, don't yeah. You can always just empty the push as a way to ignore guard, essentially, as a way to just dodge it. And that's the best value. Right? It doesn't come up enough for me to be a sniper, essentially.
So that leaves these other three. We've already talked long shots the most important, right? I don't even know where to start because these are all these are why Rook is playable as a character.
No. Ignore fast shell is the worst of these three, like by a very significant margin.
By a very significant, dude. Ignore Sunguard on any character is like remember.
Yeah, I know, right? You look at flash shell and you go. Oh, you read it again, and you go, hold on.
This says ignore.
Hold on, yes,
do you understand what this bullet says? Ignore stun guard. This is literally the scariest text in Battlecon. Ignore guard.
That and dodge.
Yes. Avoid. Yes. Ignore guard and avoid attacks.
Yeah. Ignore guard's good. Ignore guard's really good. But you're Rukyuk, and you have push effect on point blank, but treat on gunner. Crossfire is not trading. Drake is not going faster. Well, I'm sorry, Boss is not going faster either. And Sniper's dodging the point, right? So, Ignore Guard, actually not that relevant at all.
I mean, I'm just used to, like, how am I going to beat a Gunner Grasp with Ignore Stun Guard turn 1? This is usually my calculus against the Rook.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're not allowed. I mean, the counter is going faster. It's only speed 5, right? It's only part 5. So you can just beat it, right?
Yeah.
Of course, it's an amazing mix-up with Swift Shell, but you need Swift Shell for everything else, and that's why Swift Shell is so much better.
You say it's a mix-up, but I'm like, if they want to try to mix up a Swift Shell with Ignore Guard, I will happily take their Swift Shell away from them.
I mean, you're just...
I can't, when I'm playing against Rook, I can't do anything about when they long shot, right? Like, they're going to long shot when they long shot. Okay, fine. It's when are they going to Swift Shell? Because this is the well, I guess we're talking about Ignore Stun Guard. I can't really do anything about that either. The thing that's always impacting my calculus is Swift Shell. So if you're like, there's a mix up here, I'm like, please.
Yeah, exactly, right?
Please,
if Swift Shell... If Swift Shell is the important one, then Flash Shell is worse. And that's pretty much how I feel about Flash Shell.
Alright.
Every time you want Flash Shell, you want Swift Shell.
I buy that. That's fair.
And Flash Shell is not that that relevant. Just with this kit, hitting the opponent is usually good enough. You don't need Ignore Stun.
Moon Knight, you played a fair amount of Demi-Trust, right?
I played a fair
amount of Demi. How often have you played against Rook with like a Swift Shell up?
I mean, that's not a problem because you're going before him anyway.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to bring it up for Demi, right? Because I don't play a lot of Demi, but I'm like, there is one character I feel like that doesn't really care about Swift Shell.
I mean, there are some characters that don't care about Swift Shell. But those characters have different hit conditions.
It would be essentially like Cadenza, right?
Yeah, but in the ones that don't care about Swift Shell, you suddenly have AP Shell, which takes its spot.
Yeah, and you have Flash Shell, especially against heavies. That's when it shines. But that's the easier matchups. Because you can just push them around and you can just dodge, right? Because you don't need that much speed, and if you do need speed, you have Swift Shell. Then you can just Impact Shell and just run away from the opponent. You don't need Flash Shell.
I mean, that's true for most times. There are weird interactions, as always in Battlecon, let's face it.
Mm-hmm.
So, let's say you're facing Lim. It might not be the best one. But yeah, we'll take Lim as an example, just because. If she aims for a large disparity, Switch Shell is not always your go-to ammunition.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, okay.
That can be some problems, but it's like one character amongst many. I agree that Swift Shell probably is like Rook's most important shell.
No, that would be long shot.
Shell has got to be long shot, right?
Oh, right, long shot.
But after long shot, I think
for the mix-up, Swift.
Yeah. I think after long shot, it's definitely Swift.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you're saying like which two bullets are the best, long shot and Swift Shell, whatever that.
Yeah. And then you have like flash and +2 power explosive. Yeah, explosive. And after that you have like ignore armor.
Impact Shell.
Impact Shell. Yeah, impact is probably before ignore armor. But that is a matchup dependent choice, right? I'd say that there are characters like Seraphina where the push shell does nothing. Basically, it's like, I'm gonna push you.
And the ignore armor does less.
Wait.
But she's she's like an example where I'd say that ignore guard might be more important because she can actually like random strike and you're like, oh no.
So fun fact, when I was playing yesterday, one of my friends is really enjoys Seraphina. No matter how much I tell him I don't think Seraphina is very good. and I told him that I had to play at least a game or two with Rook. He's like, okay, well, and he reached for Seraphine. I'm like, I'm not playing that matchup. Like, just let it go. I'm not gonna let you play Cadenza. You're not gonna play Seraphine into Rook. Like, let's come on. I need to actually play a game that like we will see how these characters work.
I mean, you can actually play.
Rook is very funny. It's just a completely different matchup.
Yeah.
It's just completely. You can never
This
set
is
up.
true for you two, right? For normies, like me, there's no like Seraphina versus Rook. It's like this is just I already want to die. Like I just want to groan and concede at character select.
So the problem with the matchup of Seraphina versus Rook specifically, and then we'll like drop this probably, is that Rukyuk has a small clause that says you can't hit one if you don't empty your ammo, right? So Seraphina actually gets to know what kind of ammo Rook empties before she chooses to swap or not.
I mean, that doesn't matter because she's always swapping closer, right? She essentially doesn't need to have a mix-up because she just moves to range 1.
Right.
And I hope we've talked about this enough. Rukyuk does not play at range 1.
I would argue that most of the time that's true, but sometimes I play like once again, this is how I play Seraphina. I play a random shot at range like 3 against a Rook, and my token is behind him, and I say, "What do you want to do?" And you're like, "I'm gonna empty a token, or I'm gonna pass." And if you pass, I say, "Okay, fine. I don't want to go anywhere because then you're
not gonna hit me no matter what."
Yeah,
right.
And then I mean.
That's
once again,
relevant.
it's a good matchup. It's a good mix-up for Seraphina, sure, but it's one matchup amongst many, and Rook has some harsh matchups.
For sure.
One thing with Rukyuk is
that your worst matchup?
You see all these.
Oh, sorry, I can't hear you both at the same time.
Oh, is Hakech your worst matchup?
Hakesh?
Hakech?
Yes.
Is that how you say it?
Yes.
I mean, literally every turn that you finally succeed, he gets his token back to teleport to range 1.
Yeah, the thing about Hakesh matchups is that you always want to be at range. Is it 2?
2.
From him? Yeah. Which makes he kills your crossfire, which is awkward.
Yeah.
So you live on gunner, point blank, trick, and switch, and I mean it's not good.
It's really bad.
Okay, so
yeah, because he also his +3 is anti, right? His +3 priority. Yeah, kind of ridiculous. Rukyuk loves having speed. Like he doesn't really want to be slower. So he does. Well, I mean, what does he do in slow? Like he like point blank strikes. That's it. That's all he has. Like in range 1.
Yeah.
So before we talk about explosive shots, I got us off track with my random garbage. Before we talk about explosive shell, Charles, you actually brought up a really crazy good point that is super relevant in a lot of matchups. You never have to ante before Rook ever, right? Like no matter what character you're playing. Like I guess Mikhail is like the only option, the only other person. But
I mean, not even Mikhail. Not even Mikhail.
Yeah, and that's true because you have less, so you want to know if you're gonna get your token mate. So yeah, not even like nobody has to ante before Rook ever, right? If he doesn't,
he has zero threat if he doesn't ante, which helps a lot of characters that have antes. Because essentially Rukyuk cannot play the mix-up game. His bullet is face up. It just is. It's in fact I usually treat it as a second style. He plays 3 cards really: the style, the base, and the bullet.
Yep.
It's just known. It's just known to every character that has empty options. Because if you don't empty, it just means one of 2 things: you're dodging, you're reloading, or you're playing force winning.
Basically, it's like, it's a flaw in his like game plan, according to me. Not a flaw in the game design, but a flaw in his battle plan. That you always have to like, okay, I have to have a bullet, or else things are going to go badly. That said, if you're up against an opponent who always says pass as their first action against you, then you can always put in a sneaky reload where you don't really care about your attack, and it's kind of good.
Depends, right? I mean, usually antis don't dictate if they're gonna hit or not.
Right.
Yeah.
I can see occasionally where that might be, but I don't think that's going to be super common, right? Like, most of the times they're just saying pass because, if you don't hit them, that doesn't change the fact that they did their, mediocre whatever.
Yeah,
It matters for Mikhail. Specifically with Hollowed. If he does an empty Hollowed and thus he misses your reload, you win hard.
Yeah.
That's
unless
alright, honestly.
Unless he scrolls. Something.
Sure. Unless he scrolls, and if he's not anteing, guess what?
He gains a token.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, like if Mikhail specifically does an ante, I hope your pair is prio too.
Well, Mikhail will always pass, right?
Yeah.
Because other than this specific scenario, it does not. He just wants to pass. Because you pass and it's good for him.
Yeah, if you pass, he'll just play his base, right?
Yeah. And you will have to dodge. You do sniper or something. Something, anything. You're faster than him. You dodge. He moves closer, and it's sure, I don't care. I'm Mikhail. You didn't actually run away from me. I probably hit you.
Yeah, that's probably true. Yeah, but yeah, it's
he might have used scroll. So yeah.
So then, explosive. I feel like explosive is not a tricky bullet, right? Explosive is fairly just good, right? There's 2 powers just good. So I don't feel like there's as much to say about explosive as compared to the others. Like the swift shell is the important one when I'm playing against Rook.
I'd say that explosive ammo is the one token you want in. Once you start learning the game, explosive ammo is really good because you trade all the time, and it seems like, whoa, +2 power. I can even use it with crossfire to gain a +5 power attack. That's crazy.
Yeah, you don't need to win a lot of beats to win Battlecon. Oh yeah, I told you guys that story already.
Yeah. So the thing is, crossfire, explosive ammo, and you're let's just go. It's +5 power, and I have soak 2, armor 2. So I'm gonna win this super hard. Once you played a bunch of beats or games and stuff like that, you realize that putting all your eggs in one basket, like a crossfire explosive ammunition, is really dangerous. I feel like, and I'm not the Rukyuk expert, but explosive ammo is on gunner most of the time.
Yeah. Explosive shell is usually when it either stuns whatever the opponent's doing, or there's really nothing else.
Well, I think sometimes
it's a really good throwaway bullet.
I think sometimes you'll do it on the if you've set up the guaranteed sniper payout.
I mean, sure, you'll do it then, right? But that's rare. Most guaranteed setups use long shot.
Right, but that's my point. That I don't think explosive is super tricky from a tactical standpoint because the tactical stuff happened the turn before, and now this is just your payout for getting your setup.
The tricky part is not ending something else really.
Yeah.
And I would say long shot is the best bullet to anti when you don't want to anti anything else, and you think you're gonna hit. If you don't think this is almost always a dodge.
If you think about it, what you've said is you should anti long shot every single turn except for point blank, and it's that's not how long shot works.
I mean, if you could,
sure. If you could, then your character is
what happens is now, you were talking about setups, and setups I usually with long shot because it makes setups easier to hit. But of course, if you don't need the long shot, then you can use explosive shell. That would just naturally be hard. Very easy example is sniper. Sniper Advent 6 does not beat dodge unless you play long shot, and so to beat checkmate, you need to enter long shot. And this is why I don't play a lot of explosive crossfires because I usually need a long shot, right?
Yeah.
But this changes, of course, with Gunner and Point Blank, where you're usually fine, right? Unless you need priority or you really need flash out, you're usually fine with just +2 power. Especially if you don't have a use for Impact Shell immediately. Like if you don't foresee Impact Shell being incredibly useful next week. Also for Trick, I would recommend Impact Shell way more often than Impulsive Shell. Depends, but still.
Here's a good question. What does this finisher even do?
The good one or the bad one?
No, let's talk about the bad one first, because I don't even know what it does, so I have to read it.
I used to only use it, so yeah.
What? We'll talk about
Force
that.
Grenade is like the good one.
What? Okay, we're done talking. We gotta talk. Okay, Force Grenade, which I think is the bad one, and I'm being told is wrong, is 1 to 2, power 4, prio 4 with tiebreakers, 0 guard, reveal, negate all bonuses and effects from ammo. This attack can hit even if you didn't anti-ammo, which is great. Hit optional, push 1 to 6. After optional, retreat 1 to 5. And I guess I'll just repeat the other one as well, and then we'll talk about Force Grenade first. Fully automatic is range 3 to 6. Power 2, prio 6 with a tiebreaker. Negate all bonuses and effects from ammo. Spend all ammo for +2 power each. Man, maybe this is... I could be wrong.
They both look bad, don't they?
No, I mean, this Force Grenade is like solving problems that I just like my character.
The other is too.
I'm changing my answer.
They're kind of hard to read.
I'll say they do two different things, right? So, fully automatic is like my attempt to finish the game. It says I'm standing on. I already have like the gap I need, and I'm just gonna stand here shooting you until you're dead. And it also like you can't dodge within. Like you can't play dodge and avoid it, which is amazing.
Right. Assuming we're at max range.
Yeah, assuming you're at max range, which we are.
Yeah, because we're fully automatic. Right.
Because otherwise it's too dangerous to play.
Yeah.
So that's amazing. And you deal, let's say you're just reloaded because you used a trick reload to get down, take 5 damage, and you're now at 1, and you're at the perfect range, and you just shoot everything. It's still just 12 damage, right?
Yep.
Just 12 damage?
Just 12.
Just 12 damage.
Just 12 damage. It sounds so silly, but yeah. Compare that to Force Grenade, where you just like play it, usually going like semi-fast. People don't tend to play grasps, and that's why Force Grenade is good. You just like create that distance between you and your opponent that you sometimes need against Rook, as Rook. Once again, this is all like difficult to compare because they do two completely different things. Force Grenade is probably better in a lot of matchups.
When I'm thinking about like scary stuff, it's like, well, if he sets up a fully automatic, I just lose the game on the spot because he'll deal me 8 or whatever. But like most of the times, I guess in those situations, I'm probably losing anyway. Whereas Force Grenade will do things that like can get you back in the game and then put you in exactly that situation where it's like, oh, well now I just get snipered. I guess it's only for 4, but rip. Like, what?
It's 4 twice, because you have the Force Grenade 4, and then also the Sniper 4, and then probably the Gunner. Yeah. But I played a lot of Rukyuk. Wow, my main. And I used to play Force Grenade first, because I looked at both and I thought, fully automatic never hits. And Force Grenade does, and Force Grenade is actually a mix-up in terms of anti-options, right? Because it means you can not anti and threaten Force Grenade. But of course, Force Grenade, when it hits, it kills.
Automatic, you mean, right?
Yeah, fully automatic
hits and kills. So
I mean, Force Grenade also kills.
Yeah, it does usually. So the thing is, like, fully automatic. Let's say your opponent is at 14 health, and you're like, I'm just gonna do this, and then I'm gonna win on time. The problem with playing that is now you're totally out of bullets. and now you have to survive. Since you just use your reload, so it's in your discard 1. So you have 2 beats where you don't have the option to reload, and after that you have to reload.
Hold on. Okay, we are like they're at 14 HP. We have way less, and
Yeah, if they're at 14, if
Yeah.
they're not
we're
dying to
dealing
fully
with
automatic, you're not playing.
damage.
I mean, okay, sure, they played
I think
safety.
what happens is like
They
If they
played
don't
safety.
die, you don't play it.
yeah, exactly. You don't play if you die. You play it. Yeah, if you play it the beat after you reload and the opponent just dodges in, eats it and kills you. I mean that's obviously not much of
Yeah.
But most of the time it's lethals, especially after
Yeah.
reload. And if it's not after reload, you can just reload afterwards.
If it's not after reload, then you don't have like it's the same threat. Let's say you have used 3 ammo, then it's and then you anti 1 to shoot, and then it's 6 damage, and 6 damage is something that you can.
Oh wow, you still have to anti fully automatic, and you just don't get the bonus.
Yeah,
Yes.
it doesn't
Oh.
say like force grenade.
Yeah.
I am team force grenade now. I'm just team force grenade.
Fair enough.
Okay, as I was saying, first grenade looks awesome because you hit the opponent and you win the game. Regardless of how many bullets you have, because you only need one more to kill them. Usually with crossfire, sniper, whatever. But first grenade has a problem. The problem is the attack is really bad. It's really, really bad, especially when you're Rukyuk. You're used to having ammo on top of your attacks. Ammo cannot go on top of these finishers. This is a 1-2-4-4 attack. It's not hitting. Like I'm just gonna tell you, it's not hitting the opponent. The opponent is running away. The opponent is faster. The opponent is gonna just kill you.
Yeah, but like
before you do this.
my favorite part about finishers like these is like think about what you just said. I'm Rook, and I have this up. It's not going to hit them. What are they going to do? They're going to run away. I'm like, wow, look how good my finisher is. It's just like Dragon's Descent, right? Like you're going to just keep moving every single turn. I'm never going to play it, but you're going to play around it the whole game. Great, sounds wonderful.
The problem is it has no threat. The problem is it has no threat. By playing around everything else Rook has, you're already playing around it. You already want to be fast, and that's it. You already want to be fast. This card's slow. This card's incredibly slow.
Yeah. So the prior
you need to be in range.
Hold on.
And it has the same weaknesses as Point Blank.
Let me hear what MK's got about this.
Well, the thing about Force Grenade is that the 4 prio winning ties is probably not good enough.
Sure.
I mean, 5 prio reducing its power, whatever. You don't really need like the hit. You play it for the push to opposite sides of the board. So there are small things I'd prefer with Force Grenade. That said,
neither of these finishes are good.
I mean, yeah,
True.
Not compared to others.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, they're average finishes. Most finishes are like this, situational and average.
Yeah, and this isn't Hydra Force.
I used to play Force with it because the other finishes were good. But now I look at Force and I look for automatic and I go, this is I always have this, right? I can simply reload into fully automatic.
Yeah,
you can't do this without fully automatic, right? Because if you need something fast, this is the card. This is the card to go.
Sure.
It's a second sniper, which deals a lot of damage. It can easily deal 10 damage.
Force Grenade is definitely
after
not
reload.
It's not.
The
Force Grenade is
Force
not
Seal. The Force Seal is
the anti-buff. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
I'd say it's kind of dependent on what your opponent's playing. If your opponent's playing a ranger, you should probably use fully automatic. Just I did it. I outsped you and dealt 10 damage or whatever. The odds are there that you can. I can, in theory, do this. Like, yeah.
So the last the last thing I wanted to ask is playing against Rook, because I feel like playing against Rook has all these stages, right? When you're very new, Rook is a noob killer, right? When you don't understand anything, this character is going to crush you. And then
I'd say that if you're new and playing Rook, you're gonna have a bad time as well. So Rook is not like a starter-friendly character, in my opinion. But you'll get there. He's kind of awkward, and you have so many beats that doesn't do anything. But yeah.
And so, how do you play against Rook? I mean, and it's so character dependent that I'm not sure we can even have a meaningful conversation.
No, it is not. It is not character dependent at all.
I mean, I usually
there's a very universal way to do it.
I'm like, these are where I live. These
three
spaces in the middle of the board. When I play against Rook.
That's where. Yeah.
I'm like, I never want to leave this except for to come in one. I only want to move one, and I want to stay in the middle of the board the whole game.
Yeah.
I mean, as long as
yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. As long as your character is allowed to do that, so you're not playing like Hikaru or something, it just has 0 range on everything, and just want to go in and punch.
Yeah.
That's good. That's also kind of why Hikaru has some problem against Rukyuk.
Yeah, honestly. I will tell you, as someone who plays Evil Hikaru, which that's not quite as bad, but Magdalena loves a safety against a Rook.
Oh yeah. I mean, Magdalena is probably fine. You got Exemplar and stuff like that. And once she gets going, you're good. That said, Rook can really do bad stuff.
Yeah, for someone like Hikaru, I think you're actually just boned.
I mean, yeah.
I guess that's not the worst. The worst would be like Gar. Gar probably can't beat Rook ever.
Nah.
She has Eruption.
Eruption.
She has Eruption. Fire. Yeah. I mean, Gar doesn't have a really good time against Rook.
Gar doesn't have a really good time against insert Battlecon character name.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not very fair, is it? Anyway, I would say that pretty much like most matchups against Rukyuk or with Rukyuk are very polarized. Because we either have the tools to deal with him, we don't. And there's particularly a very, very important tool that Rukyuk really struggles against. So that's not a big movement. Because he sets you up and he pushes you, and then he can be fast and kill you. But if you just have standard movement like Chrono, he kind of just bypasses every range he has. Because he can't outspeed it. And so especially if you have like a consistent way to go to range 1 on side of beat, you just go.
Yeah. So
he falls flat
like Rin, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Jousting.
Rin only has 1, thank God. Hekach is the big problem, right? Hekach, Luke, which literally has an anti for this, so he can just do whatever.
Doesn't Sherry have one?
Sherry moves to range 3.
Well, that's Mirage. Or she get one that teleports behind them?
Yeah, she can teleport behind, but Rook is usually in a corner, which is...
True.
I mean, it's not
It's also
bad.
before effects, and that's... before effects are why Sniper exists, because Sniper is fighting everything. But unfortunately, he has no answers to Sniper beat.
Actually, here's a great question. So, if you do play Rook, and you like Rook, who else should you try? Aside, like, if you want a character similar to Rook, right?
I
remember asking you, I'm like, I looked at all the ranges on this guy's kit, and I thought that you would love him because he looks like Rook too. And that was Kenny, and you were like, they're not the same, I hate Kenny.
Yeah.
Kenny's the worst character.
I'd say like a Wellesley is probably fine.
Welty is the one that springs to mind for me.
Yeah. I mean, Tatsumi does things like Rook, but differently because she manipulates both characters' movement, which is weird.
Well, so does Rukyuk, right? It's usually just pushing and running away.
I'd say Benavir as well. Even if Benavir is weird, he has Spire and his styles.
Are we talking about his style?
Benavir, no.
Wait, Benavir's...
They're pretty different, I would say. Tatsumi is very different from Rukyuk. There's no comparison. Tatsumi is just a control character.
I think Wellesley is a really good comparison there.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Who else? Who else is like a...
Wellesley's even more. Because Wellesley's not mobile.
Wellesley's not mobile in the same way. No, that's true.
No, but like her range.
But Rukyuk is very mobile. Right? That's, I think, his defining feature. Plus bullets and plus range. Anyway, I would have to say Trias. Because Trias has minimum range on almost every attack.
Yeah, that's a great answer. Like his...
And he also has long shot, right? So a lot of things that you learn with Rukyuk can be applied to Trias. Trias is slower. He does crossfire stuff, right? He has outrageous, which is essentially
Trias is crossfire the character.
yeah, he also is, yes. Because he can be slower, right? He also has Drake essentially. Just doesn't have sanity, but he can just get -3 priority every single week.
Oriana,
he's
maybe?
a cool range.
Oriana's weird. I think it's
Oriana's not a ranger.
Definitely not Atavia even. Like Atavia is... It feels like she's a ranger and she wants those ranges, but that's not... She does not play like Rook, right?
Oh, she doesn't play Rook at all, but Oriana has like some setup and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That Rook has as well. But yeah.
She manages resources much more differently, right?
Voko. Oh no, one plays as Voko.
Dude, I got a friend of mine who plays as Voko. Voko's a lot better than I remember.
Well,
yes.
He got like totally remade, so yeah.
Yeah.
He's still not very good, but he's definitely a character.
Larimore is a weird take on this concept. He's not mobile, right? But he plays keep away. Like if Trias is crossfire the character, Larimore is point blank the character. That's not even true.
Who?
I guess it's Berman. They changed his name in Unleashed.
Oh, Berman. Yeah, Berman can be a ranger because you have one mage, and that's just like push and then also kill them. But yeah, there's obviously no one with quite as much minimum range as Rukyuk.
Yeah, I mean,
probably the person that has the most awkward ranges would be Wellesley.
I mean,
if you really want those awkward ranges, they'll be Wellesley.
I would say Burgundy as well. I'm just checking through. Burgundy
has range equals yes. That's
I mean, and the thing is, they seem like they seem super different, but both characters is like all about moving around the board, crazy amounts, and hitting at strange ranges. So if that's what you like,
I mean, you know what? Actually, let's talk about it, because I think that if you look at the ranges. And you look at we want to talk about a lot of movement. I need you now to explain to me why Kenny is not like Rook. We got movement every turn. I've got Tricky, which is +3 to 5 range.
You have escape. First I will talk about Burgundy. I think it's more important. Also easy. Burgundy is for when you don't want to deal with Rukyuk's ranges anymore. You're always fighting for ranges, Rukyuk. Every single time, every single beat, you want to push the opponent or run away or deny their dodge, etc., right? You're constantly fighting for position, and because you can't hit attacks, you have a significant hit confirm block where you always need to be in position. It's essentially like Hikaru. Like Hikaru, you always have to fight. But it's the opposite, which makes it really different. But Burgundy just throws away all those concerns because he just hits. He just hits. There's like I think It's like if you beats where it matters, where the paint is, but it's usually like you hit. You just always hit, and you don't really have to think about it. He is a ranger technically because he has flattened. Yeah, so he's basically an easy mode ranger. He has range of yes. He can move anywhere with slaughter. And he can do pretty much whatever he feels like because he's not attached to his.
He only has 5 paint, right? I think that's like
yes,
limiting
but
factor.
I mean it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You hit it. Because each paint covers 2 spaces.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But you have to be at the space to put it out there. So I mean, he is
but
movement.
unless you play slaughter or some other toxic paint. He also has like end of beat move anywhere.
Playing Burgundy
He's
actually reminds
really
me of
easy mode.
New Voco.
Maybe. I mean, a bit, but not this. They're different.
They're different. Yeah. Because Voco still has a hit confirm problem. And in fact, if you want to deal with hit confirm, if you really like dealing with hard hit confirm, you play Voco because he has a lot of ways to deal with it. Yeah. Play well, see if you want to be bad at dealing with it. Anyway, Kenny. Play well, see if you want to be bad at hit confirm.
Yeah, just bad, without a way to fix it.
Yeah. It's like, Rukyuk is hard, which can fix it. Burgundy is easy. Voco is also hard, which can fix it. That's different. And Wealthy, just you can't fix it.
I love Legacy, though.
Well, I mean, look, sometimes you just play Parallax Grasp like 3 turns in a row.
Yeah.
And then...
I can't see anything wrong with this.
Yeah, like you just play Parallax Grasp 6 turns in a row, and they can't beat it, so you're like, guess what, I'm going to play for the rest of the game.
I mean, Anomalous, I presume, because that's the one that actually, like, if you win once, you win 5, right?
What is it, Anomalous? Is that the one? That,
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's the one that blocks the opponent's discard piles.
Yeah, I have definitely been Anomalous lost to lose games. It's like Parallax Grasp into Anomalous. It's like, well, this game is over since you are now going to hit me 4 times, and I will have no cards.
But it only deal like 1 damage, so...
Yeah. With Grasp, it's 1 damage. With something else, it's
yeah, but you want to have the plus priority.
Yeah, but if they couldn't beat it last turn, the glory of Wealthy is they're not going to beat it this turn either. And it's not like you're playing something similar. You're just going to play it again.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It's pretty hard to get it, though, to checkmate. Anyway, Kenny has a bunch of win ranges. Almost every style but one has a win range. And he's fast, but he likes to be fast. He's incredibly mobile. He has a little bike he can ride. He has, which essentially gives him anti-movement. He can set up the bike. He can do a bunch of stuff. But there's a problem with Kenny. He has no range. His styles I have like 1 to 2 range, 1 to 2 range, 2 to 3 range. Of course, added to whatever phase, right? 2 to 3 range, 3 to 4 range. And you know what those attack moves do? Burst. Those attack moves do burst a lot. And his range is awkward. His movement is awkward. It doesn't really do much. It doesn't have any power.
I mean, it sounds like
most of the time.
You could be talking about Rook. I wouldn't be able to tell if that was true or not.
What?
I'm sorry?
You could be talking about Rook right now instead of Kenny, and I wouldn't be able to tell. Like, I'm not kidding.
Well, Rukyuk has ammo.
Okay.
Rukyuk has a new way. And Kenny is basically replaces all that with anti-movement. And anti-movement's fine. But it's just not my favorite. And it's pretty different from Rukyuk. Because Rukyuk just had a big movement, and he can essentially just had a big movement.
Alright, so outside of auto matchups, right, like Haketch, or not auto matchups, but matchups that are exceptionally bad, Haketch comes to mind. Who else is just like Rook good against? And I don't mean like the stuff like Cadenza, right? Like who is Rook?
I mean, I was gonna say Cadenza, but
yeah, I don't mean about
Cadenza. Cadenza is a super notable bad matchup for him, for Cadenza.
Right.
Because you have fast
Demetrius
shell, you have AP shell, you have everything.
Yeah, Demetrius is interesting, like hard interesting.
Yeah,
It's
whoa.
beatable, but it's you have to play differently than you usually do.
Mm-hmm.
Does that matchup revolve around jousting?
I'm sorry?
Does that matchup
jousting and
revolve around
backside.
jousting?
Because he has 2 ways to beat you at range.
He has like
means,
a bunch of ways to beat you if he wants
Yeah.
to. You can go lower priority when you're at long range and just be afraid of crossfire shots and stuff like that. What's his slow style called? I can't remember right now.
What's the style?
Slow style? What are you talking about?
I presume you mean illusory, but
What, switch?
at range it doesn't matter.
No, but he has one slower style that dodges
Not
if you're.
anymore.
It should be
Really?
right.
Not anymore.
Hold on. It could be right
Did
here.
they remove that?
Yeah, that's illusory.
So he has. Okay, so he has.
Oh, that's the one. Attacks at range 4+. Avoid.
Oh, it
Well,
has
that's
to be
+1. Oh wow,
I
this
mean-
matchup actually
Having
seems
a
really
style.
bad for Rook. Because you have both jousting and this avoid or attacks at range 4+.
Yeah.
This seems.
That's really the.
Actually.
It is. It is a pretty big nightmare. And he's also fast.
Yeah.
Rukyuk does not like to go slow because like point blank and gunner, we like to go fast, and they have like +0 fire.
Yeah, you'll never beat.
So you want to go fast, but you never beat Demetrius. Switch out, he just laughs at it. He has to Cassandra, and that's it. He's just fast. He just fast. This makes the matchup pretty hard, right? Demetrius is a pretty slow body character, even after the rework. If you fall behind, you just lose. There is very little you can do. The matchup revolves around landing crossfire strikes because it's essentially like 5 beats of damage that he dealt.
And then I guess
But other than that,
my other question
question
would be: Do either of you have anything else you wanted to add about Rook? About why you should play Rook? I don't think anybody should play Rook. I hate this character.
Best character. I just want to talk about philosophy of playing Rook.
The philosophy of playing Rook. All right, I'm not buckling in for an hour, but I'm definitely interested to hear it.
So the way I see Rook is you're constantly fighting for 2 things. There's 2 axes of things, right? One is bullets, and the other is position. You need both, but you're constantly losing them, right? Each beat you want to get position. Positioning is very easy. The range. The more range, the better. So you place things like gunner, point blank, impact shell, reload, sniper, you name it, right? Every single movement option, because you really need positioning to win the next beat, right? And on top of this, you have the bullets, which go down, and you have to manage when do I empty what bullet, right? Like if you empty swift shell now, I won't have it until I reload. Yeah, that's a very long time. Hold on, sorry. Same for a long shot. Those are your 2 big bullets. So you have to think about when do I use them in this magazine, right? You can think of you can separate the game into like between reloads and think, okay, in this round, what will I do? Right? What bullets will I empty first? What setups am I doing? For example, like beat 1, you do like a very standard opener, gunner grasp. Gunner grasp, either strip shell or ignore guard, depending on what you want to call. Because that's usually safe. Usually, no one can go faster than gunner grasp. If they go slower, they would get stunned by flash. And you go, okay, that's good. But if you spend swift shell, that means you don't have swift shell anymore.
Right.
If you spend flash shell, if the gun goes faster, it's kind of horrible. Right.
Yeah, I talked to you yesterday where it's like, I feel if I had to explain Rook in just words, it's like, no beat, trade down, no beat, trade down, set up, and then 100% win, 100% win.
Yeah. You only like it doesn't matter the trades in between. Right? It doesn't matter that point
Well,
blank is
Gunner Grass
under 20 days
still
versus
loses,
hydraulic.
but like you get the setup out of it. Like you can still sometimes trade down with Gunner Grass and then still win because you have the setup for next turn.
Exactly, especially if I guarantee. Another very common thing I do is quick burst because the opponents will dodge the Gunner Grass.
Yep.
And so like quick burst, impact shell, or something. Because if I hit, I get range. If I don't hit, I get range
like
because I
trick
burst.
burst on turn 1 as Rook. Because like if they're gonna dodge Gunner Grasp, then they're gonna have to end up next to you, and you're gonna like this is a perfectly fine null.
Yeah. You they dodge first because you have minus the priority, and then you run away. Which is really useful. Because now you range 3, their dodge is down. Guess what? Gunner Grass.
Yep.
Impact shell so that if you hit the opponent, you win. Right? Because who cares about damage? Right? You're probably not hitting this again. But if you do, you're at
Rook
range
spends a lot
5
of time
now.
doing nothing to give them turns where they do nothing.
Yeah. Rukyuk is about not interacting. Because you have awkward ranges. And you pretty much have the opposite range of every other character. And so when they can hit, you can't. When you can hit, they can't. So you really want to set up for those beats where they can't do anything and you can. For example, like quick burst, the opponent doesn't move. That's just wind shakes out right there, which means free sniper, free crossfire, free whatever you feel like. Which is much more damage than if you do like explosive ammo.
Yeah.
So yeah. That's it. Think about the bullets as like think about the important bullets very specifically. Like a long shot is a resource. Swift shot is a resource in most matchups. And the other bullets are just a clock. Right? Well, look a few beats ahead. Like if you have like a 3-beat setup but you only have 4 bullets, maybe don't go for that. Because you probably have to reload, or if something goes wrong, you have to reload earlier than you were thinking about, and you get punished. So yeah, and then always fight for position.
So
every single time.
To wrap it up, right? I do have a question for you, MK. MiX, first of all, MiX sold Rook to people, which I'm unhappy about because I hate. More than I think any other character in the cast, I hate playing against Rook the most because it's so stressful.
Sure.
Because like you'll win because even when you're winning against Rook, you'll lose 1 beat, and then you're gonna lose the next 2 as well. So even though you're winning now, doesn't mean that you're actually winning. But MK, so we've talked about dodging, we've talked about Magdalena, now we've talked about Rook. Who do you want to talk about next time?
Next time?
Next time.
I don't know. Let me check. Changing color to blue again. And looking through, like, do you have any preferences?
No, I mean I pulled up Syndra just because I know that you like Syndra, but we don't have to talk about it.
I mean, we could talk Syndra. Syndra's fine. Syndra's a lot of fun.
Or if you have like a weird character, like I've seen your Karen play, and I like Karen play.
I mean, I like Karen. Sure, we could do Karen. We could do Syndra. I'm like up for anything.
If this was in TTS, I would say Rifflung.
Sorry?
Yo, you would be the perfect person to talk to.
Right? Yeah, like when I talk about Rifflung, yes.
Rifflung?
I was between Rukyuk and Rifflung.
I mean,
really
Rifflung. I played. I don't like solo balanced Rifflum from his original state. I feel like I was the only one who played him.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Oh well.
All right. Well, I mean, we can do like Syndra or Karen, or unless you have somebody else. Fun because I feel like we've done our main, but I don't even know if you have a main.
I mean, I want to play everything. I like most of the characters, not all of the characters. But there are some characters that people don't allow me to play, like Byron, for example.
So that's who we'll talk about because I hate playing as Byron. I hate it. I think it's terrible to play as. When you're playing against him, you can easily see how good some of these things are, right? But when you play as him, he feels worse than playing. Well, maybe that's not true to say worse than playing as Rook. But your ranges are the worst. Yeah, we'll talk about Byron. That's snap. Yeah.
I mean, I could also play like Tatsumi, talk about Tatsumi because
new Tatsumi, old Tatsumi would have been a way different conversation.
Old Tatsumi was like my main for a while.
Yeah, well, old Tatsumi was like I have a friend who picked up Thessala recently, and everyone was like, oh, and I'm like, no, this is version 4 Thessala, so it's different, right? It's like
Thessala is different.
Okay.
I mained Tatsumi when she was really good, but I didn't play her the way that everyone told me she was supposed to be played.
Yeah, but when you say a word like that, it's fine. When I say it just means suboptimal. I play Seth in a way that you're not supposed to. So, badly. Got it.
Fair enough. She's different, but I don't know. It's I really liked the old Tatsumi, and I didn't abuse the standing on Johto, so
You didn't.
I felt,
but
I didn't know.
Yeah, but I have played against people who are I don't know if you know this, but this is where I live now.
Yeah, that was a bit ridiculous.
The thing about Tatsumi, right, which is why people don't use grasp enough, and I've told
against
people.
Are you? Okay.
Against
we'll have to have that conversation with Tatsumi at some point, but we'll hold off on Tatsumi. We'll talk about her the turn after next because I want to talk about Byron next. But I do want to end it there before this thing gets too long.
We'll talk about Byron next. Then.
Yes, Byron next. All right, guys.
Fair enough. Okay, see you around.
Thanks for coming.
Bye. See ya.